Hi, I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime magazine. I'm here today with Drew Rose, co-founder and CSO at Living Security, a cybersecurity company focused on reducing human risk and protecting organizations from cybercrime. Human error is the number one cybersecurity risk for enterprises. Living Security's human risk management platform leverages data and insights to quantify human risk, provide real-time interventions and training to users, and prove an ROI for security leaders. To learn more about Living Security, visit livingsecurity.com. Drew, welcome. Great to have you with us today.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So Living Security is truly a family business. Your wife, Ashley, is your co-founder and CEO. Your 12-year-old daughter is involved with the business. We're going to ask you about that in a little while. So what's it like to be a husband and wife startup, which is now growing and trending in our industry?
Yeah, it's an uphill battle, but it's one that I would fight every day. I don't believe I could do this with anybody else, a friend, a business partner, an associate. One of our superpowers that we have as a husband and wife founder, being married for almost 13 years, is trust. We trust that the decisions that we make in our line of the businesses are aligned to the goals of growth and our direction. And that puts us in the same place when she would make a similar decision. So, I trust that if she were making the decision, it would be the same. And because of that working relationship that we've developed over time, the compromise, the resolution, that foundation of trust, that we can go to each other if we have questions or comments or we're unsure of what their decision would be. There's no ego, there's no showing off between the two of us. We aren't afraid to make mistakes because at the end of the day, we have more at stake than just this company. So it allows us to get through decisions quicker, faster, which in a startup, that's a very important function, is being able to get to the next step in a project or a process quick. And so, and at the end of the day, Ashley, my co-founder wife, and obviously the CEO of the company, is one of the most smartest people that I know. She's more analytical than me. She's a thoughtful business person. She fills in the gaps of the items that I'm not good at on the finance side, for sure, the legal side, the detailed side. And she's also humble enough to know where her gaps are as well. And so not only can I help fill in those gaps, but she reaches out to advisors. She brings in senior level leadership, which allows us to kind of get those things that we're not that great at. We can hand off those tasks and those functions. So I love it, to be honest.
So where did you and Ashley get the original idea from to, start up a company? Where did you get the name from? It's a great name.
Yeah, Living Security. She gets credit for the name. My first thought was Mortal Security, which was just a little bit too game-based, if you will. Mortal Kombat being a reference there. So she just came out with the name, and it just made sense. Living Security not only as a company, but as a verb. It's what we want end users to do, that we want them to live security every day. But where did Living Security come from? It's a very stereotypical startup journey. I had spent 10 to 12 years in cybersecurity, working with Fortune 500 companies and DoD and the DoD, building cybersecurity programs. This was not only security awareness, but the technical implementation, incident detection and response, policy guidance. And I had experienced security awareness at a detriment in almost every organization I was at, where most organizations just try to get through checkbox for compliance, for the accreditation as quick and as fast as they can. And most of those organizations had a negative approach and a negative culture of security. And so when I got to build my own programs, I went outside the box trying to figure out how to engage with end users in that positive manner. And I was busy. I was busy building this program. Security awareness was just a slice of my day, and I would have bought a vendor, a program, a product if something was out there that allowed me to engage with my end users. But there was nothing out there. There was nothing that I could go to from an accounting or consulting agency. There was nothing I can go from the security awareness field, the vendor field. And so I really just built out what I wanted internally. That's where I started building my first escape rooms. I started gamifying the education and try to get people to engage with me instead of forcing train upon them. And over the 3 or 4 years that I was doing that, and my last organization, we all saw this just tremendous success, just relationships being built, questions being asked, incidents being avoided. And at that same time, we started to look around into peers in the industry that worked for organizations that were a lot larger than mine, having similar issues, trying to figure out how to engage with their end users. And that's really where we kicked off, market validation, having conversations with those early initial adopters and clients, or that early adopters that would become clients, and recognizing there was a gap in the industry for us.
So I know the company has a lot of ambitions. You're in a crowded and growing market space. At some level, maybe you don't even realize it, but you've done the most difficult thing. Most startups go out of business within their first year.
Yeah.
How did Living Security, develop the customer base you have now? You've got blue chip customers, Fortune 500 companies who are already on board with you. How did you do that in such a short time?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great question. So we actually launched, meaning when I quit my job and went full time into Living Security, we actually already had 3 Fortune 100 clients, signatures, money flowing, we're ready to go out the gate. And that has grown tremendously. At this stage, 3.5 years later, we have 50 Fortune 500 clients that we've been working with over the last 3 years. I have to really, really put all of our success into the fact that we have a purpose, that we're not just trying to build a product or a company or get to an X, amount of revenue. Our purpose as a company from a foundation is to help enable security awareness program owners to build a successful program, to reduce risks, to build relationships, to get engagement, to prove a return on investment of the work that they're doing. And that's the difference between us and any other of our competitors or anybody else in the market, is that we care more about making sure that they are successful, that we will go to almost any length to make that happen. Part of our strategy, and I'll put it out there, is we meet monthly with every client of ours, which for a company our size, that's a huge investment of time that we could be taking somewhere else. But every month our clients are coming to us with new problems, new projects, new issues that we can help solve, that we can take that feedback directly into our product and innovate on it almost immediately. And it's building those relationships with our clients has allowed us to continue to grow that client base, both from bringing in new clients as well as growing the revenue from those clients themselves, so landing and expanding. And they're willing to go to bat for us. A large percentage of our business is in the referral market, where our clients are introducing us to their peers in their network, in their region, in their meetups, and that's just a method of expanding as wide as we can without having to invest a lot more into marketing there. And that's what I love. I love the relationship. So my purpose is to empower them, to make them the superheroes, so they can go to their organizations and be the superheroes for their CSO, right? To reduce risk, to engage with their end users, to encourage good behaviors around cybersecurity decision making.
So with all of the companies you speak to, before we get on topic with Living Security and what you do, what are you hearing from CIOs and CISOs? What is their biggest challenge around cybersecurity?
Yeah, and I love to talk about how to measure success in human risk and engagement. And security awareness training, but we'll get to that in a moment. My honest answer is prioritization. From a CISO's perspective, they're a cost center. There is not an unlimited budget. There's no profit margins. So they have to be super intentional on where they're making their investments. Considerations like opening up a second SOC overseas, buying a new tool, automating endpoint detection and response, going after a new certification or accreditation, who to hire. Whether they want to be proactive through that technology acquisition or reactive through manual threat hunting. There is no right solution. And in the end, when they get breached, if they get breached, that blame will always land at the CISO's desk. I really feel like the biggest challenge through COVID, pre-COVID, and post is being a CISO, being part of that CISO's team, whether they are a security architect, an analyst, a threat hunter, a policy writer. It's a thankless job that requires grit, perseverance, and an understanding that the success goes beyond a great job from the CEO or board, because that may never happen. If they're successful, nobody knows they exist, right? And that's not the type of life for everybody that wants a pat on the back, right? That wants to be employee of the year, that wants to see their, salary grow in commensurate to their goals. In the security team, their success comes from being not noticed. And so it's a tough job for anybody all the way up through the CISO. Again, our perspective is just how can we empower their decision making and help them, solve the problems that exist in their environment.
So, Drew, when I had Ashley on for our first interview, I've had the chance to interview her twice now. She spoke about human risk management, and I think it was the first time that I actually heard it explained. And in the second interview, we talked about it. You touched on it. I've seen that show up on your website. Did Living Security coin that phrase, or are you just, building on it? And, talk to us about it. It sounds like that's so fundamental to the business.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a couple other organizations out there that have started to kind of get on this human risk management bandwagon, and rightfully so. It's clear and it makes a lot of sense. In my perspective, security awareness training, what that equates to historically is getting compliant, right? Getting the checkbox by assigning some type of training to your end users so that your SOC 2 is sufficient, your PCI compliant, your SOC's auditing, they're happy. What it doesn't do from the outside is like reduce risk, right? Like it's more important to get that checkbox, and it doesn't matter what is in the content, how the content is delivered, whether people are actually paying attention to it. It's more important that they understand whether something is completed and they have a nice spreadsheet that shows 100% of the individuals have taken that. Security awareness training is part of human risk management, right? Our job in the CISO's team is to reduce risk, right? Whether that's through mitigation, acceptance, whether that's new tooling or technology like I was talking about earlier. But we all know, 85, 90, 95% of risks are imposed from some type of human decision, human behavior, whether that's clicking on a phishing email, using default credentials, not changing your password. A lot of the incidents and events that are occurring can be avoided if the end user were making different decisions. Now, we don't chalk it up to end users are the weakest link, they can't be trained. We chalk it up to if you give them the tools and the understanding of why that decision is to be made in that direction. If you give them that background and that knowledge, then they can be a vital asset to your security team. And so human risk management is the idea of like, if we invest time and resources into helping to create that why for the end user, if we're able to measure those decisions that they're making in real time and then provide relevant content that they can engage with, that makes for an overall successful security awareness program. And so we're really excited to kind of start moving our communication over to, we're in the security awareness training, computer-based training module market we help CISOs build a human risk management program end to end, from assessing where they stand currently in the decisions that their end users are making, to communicating to them in a positive and impactful manner, and then training them on the deficiencies that we are able to perceive from that event, from the historical training data.
So I want to ask you about an event that you staged that ties into a lot of this breaking security awareness. I think it was maybe 2-3 months ago, I spoke to a security awareness training manager who attended the conference. And I know it was a long conference. And, she had some interesting feedback. She said that when she was on, she heard a lot about what's not working, and it wasn't working for her, and she needed that. And she thought, it was great, as opposed to, a product pitch or, even talking about, the right way to do things. She needed to wrap her head around, what's not working, and thought it was really enlightening. Breaking security awareness, I know that's one of your mantras. Tell us about that and, what people learned when they were on that conference.
Yeah, absolutely. That really goes to kind of our thought around human risk management. We're breaking down security awareness training. We want to elevate the conversation to the board, to the C-level arena, to the CISO's front desk, that if you want to reduce risk, you have to focus and empower your end users. That means completely shape shifting how we've thought about security awareness training. We need to go beyond annual compliance training that is done 45 minutes a year, because that has never worked. It's been in practice for 15 to 20 years now, and it's never been an effective way to reduce that risk, because incidents aren't going down, they're going up. Click rates aren't going down, they're going up. And the bad guys are not getting easy or taking it easy on organizations. They're actually getting more difficult with their innovations and whatnot. And so breaking security awareness to say, listen, we need to stop thinking about this from a purely compliance checkbox approach, and we need to come at it from different measures, different ways that we can impact the end user, from email to Slack or Teams messages to game-based training like our Cyberscape Online product, where you can get a team of 8 people in a room virtually, where they can go through this game, this experience, and learn about cybersecurity and teach each other as they're going through it, right? We need to completely shift, turn it on its head and think about it differently, because to be honest, it's not that more expensive, right? We're not talking about, a brand new firewall for a Fortune 500 organization that's costing millions and millions of dollars. It just is an investment in time, right? Like, from the top down, building a positive security culture means that we think that that the way that we're engaging with our end users is going to make an impact. And we have to believe that as a C-level executive in an organization. Part of a trend we're seeing is putting the ownership of risk, of cyber risk, in the hands of the VPs, in the hands of the SVPs, in the hands of the organizational owners, where they're saying, okay, you guys are clicking on a lot of phishing emails. You need to go figure out what's going on. And so we're starting to see this top-down, approach of saying, hey, we're not seeing change here. Security awareness training isn't working by itself. What more can we do? And when we talk about the scale of our clients that have 500,000 users around the world, that's not going to be done by one person. So again, trying to empower them to have the tools to engage with their end users in a lot of different ways, whether individually, by team, through analytics and metrics. That's really what breaking security awareness is all about.
So you're helping, these, mega corporations, Fortune 500 businesses, our country's largest, but you're also helping families. Let's pivot. Let's talk about, what you're doing for families and for kids. We had your daughter on, Bella. She's 12 years old. Incredible. She definitely, gives her mom a run for the money, and you too. It was a great interview. She says you introduced her to cybersecurity, and that's a tough topic. So how did you get her interested?
Oh man, so Bella, I'd be remiss to say that she's turning 13 in soon. I won't give out the date. I'll keep her PII private. But she's going to be 13, and that's a big deal. And so I'm grateful to have her in my life. And her introduction to cybersecurity was very, very non-strategic, very kind of nonchalant, meaning that during my time building Living Security and prior, I built these escape rooms. I built these online games. I made this really fun fictional content series. And I want to show it off. I'd want to bring her in as a tester, user acceptance testing. She would come in QA. And we'd have different puzzles around locking your workstation and password security and what is phishing. And having her come in and solving these escape room puzzles, even at 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, there is enough nuggets in there that we were able to talk to Bella about what this means and what this means for her specifically, and how it translates from enterprise into being a child and the threats that they face. We've actually worked with a couple of our clients to build escape rooms for primary age. And so we have a client up in the Northeast who they do a tremendous amount of outreach for middle school and high school girls to get them into STEM. And they actually licensed one of our escape rooms. We built it specifically for them with content for middle school and middle school and high school age kids, where they can teach them about the threats around social media, around device security, around keeping your data private, and making sure what you post isn't something your grandmother's going to want to see. And so it was a very smooth transition for her, and she picked it up a lot. And every day, me and my wife and me and Ashley would talk about what we're working on, what we're doing, and she was just able to pick it up. And then when last summer we brought in a new team member. Her name's Kelly Bray, and she had this brilliant idea of just kind of this give back. Like, what is something we can do that didn't have a marketing spend tied to it, that didn't have, an MQL, marketing qualified lead number tied to it. That was just something for the world, right? For the country, because we felt that parents feel that it's overwhelming to try to protect their children online. They're not technically savvy. They don't know what all the apps for. They don't know what the risks and threats are. From our perspective, with a little investment of time, you can see what the threats are. You can help protect your children by making a couple key decisions and making a couple changes on their apps. And so we brought Bella in to this campaign we called Living Security Family First to help write these scripts, basically talking to a parent on this isn't that hard. These are the threats. These are the risks. When I'm on Facebook, when I'm on Snapchat, when I'm on Instagram, when I'm on Minecraft, when I'm playing on my new PlayStation, when I'm on my computer every day at home. Now, remember, this is, September 2020. So all the kids have been home for 7 months. These are the threats and risks, but not all is lost. Here are some really simple things you can do to lock down my devices, to control access, to monitor what I'm doing, to help protect me from the threats and dangers. And I really just tasked her, said, hey, go research, what is the threats of kids on social media, and write a script, 2 minutes, bring it to me and we'll talk about it and we'll revise. And so she gets credit for about 75 to 80% of the content in those 3 different PSAs that we shot and then produced around those 3 topics, which were social media security, device security, and online gaming safety. And I'm really proud of what she came out with. So not only did she write them, but then she actually starred in them as the main narrator, facilitator of those stories.
Wow, that's great. She's lucky, she has a mom and dad. I'm sure it's easier for her. But for the kids out there who don't have parents who are in cyber, a lot of them struggle with how to protect themselves. They're not that savvy. So, what exactly is Living Security? Is it free for everybody? And what does it provide to families?
Yeah, so Living Security is family first. We have a resource page, livingsecurity.com/family first, that not only has those PSAs, but also has links and resources to all of the different sites that you need to know and you need to go to. So if you have a Google device, if you have an Apple device, if you have a Microsoft device, here's how you can lock it down. If your child is on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, here's what you can do to lock it down. Here's what we recommend. If your child is into Minecraft or online gaming, again, here's what PlayStation is doing. Here's what Microsoft is doing. And all they have to do is go to that website, find what the kid is most interested in or spending their time on their phones doing or their gaming systems doing. Click on it, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. One of the biggest recommendations that we have is just to take that interest. Your kids on Instagram, get on Instagram and follow them, not as a snoop, but just what are they doing? What are they interested in? How can I be more involved with their social media so that they're not hiding things from me as a parent? And I tried to draw the line there because we're not about teaching parents how to be a good parent. We just want to empower them to make the decisions to protect their children online. And we truly believe we have this, it takes a community feel because of how much there is out there in terms of threats and impact areas. But we also know if your child is doing something they shouldn't be doing at a young age and they're in the same class as my child, it's getting around, right? And it's introducing them to things that they're probably too young to be introduced to. And so again, it takes a community to protect a community. And we just want to be part of that to bring our knowledge and wealth of knowledge around security awareness into that next vector of protecting you and your family and your loved ones. And what we're seeing actually from an enterprise perspective, from Living Security as a company, we see a lot of our clients also spending time and resources on their own to teach their end users about protecting their family, protecting their parents, protecting their own personal data that maybe has nothing to do with the industry. And so we actually were able to turn around our Family First campaign, and then at no additional charge, our clients are able to use that same content, those webinars, those PSAs, those PDFs, and they're able to turn them around and share them with their end users. And so I'm really excited because 5 years ago, most companies do not mix personal security with enterprise security. And now we're starting to realize if somebody cares about keeping their password safe at home, that habit is going to transfer to keeping their password safe in the office.
So Drew, before we let you go, I want to look ahead to 2021. This has been a crazy year for everybody. The COVID-19 pandemic sent millions of workers home. According to a Stanford University survey, more than 50% of our workforce in the U.S. is working from home. Everybody's anticipating the vaccine and, trying to get past this, but we're heading into 2021 with a remote workforce. What do you see? I think we all get it. I hope everybody gets it. Humans are the weakest link. We need to do something about it. So what does that look like in 2021? Do you think companies are going to take more action, be more proactive?
Absolutely. And I think they're going to be taking a couple more steps beyond what they probably expected to going into 2020 because there's less of a perimeter. There's not much of a perimeter. Let's be honest. You're at home, multiple computers, multiple devices, multiple wireless networks. We need to get in front of the end users faster. We need to respond to threats quicker. We need to inform them about things that they need to be aware of faster because we don't have that firewall, right, protecting them. We don't have all of those millions of dollars of investments that are on-prem tools that there is protecting them from the dangers of what they're clicking on and the websites they're going to and the calls they're picking up. And so we're starting to see a lot more business knowing that everyone's going to be virtual for the next several months to maybe a year. And so engagement is high. We can't put posters up in the break room. We can't do lunch and learns. We can't do messages on the TVs in the elevators, right? There's a lot we can't do, but there's not a lot of options. And so we have a lot of clients leveraging our team-based training solutions to engage with end users over vast distances around the world. We have a lot of clients coming onto our training platform where we have our game-based training solutions, our Hollywood-style videos. But we're also building out a product called Living Security Unify in 2021 that is going to be integrating technology solutions that are already in place. Think your web security, your email security, DLP solutions. And we're going to be able to provide insight into the decisions that end users are making, and then provide them feedback onto how to remediate those gaps. And we're doing that in real time. So if you have a group of users that are clicking on phishing emails or going to bad websites, in real time we can provide training nudges that are 30, 60, 90 seconds. We can provide Slack messages, Teams messages. We can communicate them in a real-time fashion to say, hey, what you're doing is risky. Here's why. And then we have a 60-second video they can watch. And then over time, we can see that risk reduction based upon that data. We can see that going down because we have that insight. And so we're really excited to bring this product to our current clients that are using our platforms, and then obviously bringing on new clients over 2021.
Well, Drew, that was great. Appreciate hearing from you after having the chance to meet with Ashley and Bella. Family security. What you're doing is very impressive. Giving back to the community, building a company. We've got our eyes on you. The community does, and hope you can come back on in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, thank you so much for having us. I feel like we need to put a poll out here to see who did a better job in the interview chair between me, Ashley, or Bella. It's always a competition in our house, so maybe we can, get some comments when the video is posted.
Okay, we'll let you know what the audience says. Thank you, Drew.
Awesome.
I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime Magazine. Visit us on the web at cybercrimemagazine.com. Joining us today was Drew Rose, co-founder and CSO at Living Security, a cybersecurity company focused on reducing human risk and protecting organizations from cybercrime. Human error is the number one cybersecurity risk for enterprises. Living Security's human risk management platform leverages data and insights to quantify human risk, provide real-time interventions and training to users, and prove an ROI for security leaders. To learn more about our sponsor, Living Security, visit livingsecurity.com.